So now we'll take a little bit closer look at least what on this scale rule is the 1-inch scale. So I'll tilt this up a little bit and you can see there's a number 1, so that's meaning this is the 1-inch scale that I'm dealing with. And if you look from here to here, that looks to be about an inch, and sure enough that is. So that's 1 inch, all right. Then I come down and I'm looking at this 0 number, and of course 0 would be a starting place of something. And then we look here as a 1, and over here is a 2, and then a 3, and so forth down the line. So it makes sense then we've got 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inches, and so forth. Of course, on a scale rule, something that's to scale is proportionally the same size as something else. You couldn't do a drawing of something that was 20 feet long. It just wouldn't be practical to have a piece of paper that big. So if you wanted to draw a scale drawing of it and you did 1-inch scale, then you'd have a drawing that's only 20 inches long, because each inch would represent an entire foot in real life. So I'm looking at it here, so that would be 1 foot then, and then 2 feet, and then 3 feet, and so forth and so on. So now you're probably looking at these little marks that are to the left of the 0, and you're thinking, well, why are those there? The reason is that you might not want to just measure feet, but you might want to have feet and inches, or even feet and half of an inch. The inch scale is a pretty large scale, so you can actually measure down to a half of an inch, which you can't really do on most of the other scales because they're just too small. But let's say I want to measure something that is 2 feet 6 inches. Well, I'd come over to 2, and if I were actually drawing something or measuring something, I'd line the 2 up with one end of where I wanted to make my 2.5 foot long mark, or my line. So there's 2, and come over to 0, so that's 2 feet, but we need to add something, so we'd come over and we'd use this little mark right here to indicate that we have 2 feet 6 inches. So you'd measure from here to here. Now, I'm looking at this, I've sort of avoided saying anything about it so far, but if you look at it, you can see here's a 20 and here's an 18, and they seem to just sort of randomly be falling in between the 1 foot and 2 foot mark and 3 foot mark and so forth. Well, actually what these are numbers that relate to the half-inch scale that's at the other end of the scale rule. So I'm going to slide this over so you can see the other end and hold it up, and now we can see here's the half-inch scale. So the half-inch scale measures from right to left instead of left to right. We're accustomed to measuring and reading things from left to right. So it's a little bit confusing at first, but if you look at the at the 1-inch scale first and then at the half-inch scale, it'll make more sense to you what's going on. It's really similar. We've got a 0 here, and then we've got 2 feet, 4 feet, 6 feet, and so forth going down that to the other end. And at the other end of the scale, they get up to numbers like 12 and 14 and 16, which are the numbers that we were seeing a minute ago. So we're looking at it, and if we wanted to measure our 2 feet 6 inches, it'd be from right here to right here would be our 2 feet 6 inches. You're looking here, and on the other end of the scale, you had all of the numbers. They were just extra numbers. Here you don't have all the numbers. Here we have, this would actually be 1. It says 10, but that's because it's 10 feet or 10 inches, depending on your point of view, from the other end of the ruler. But the way you would actually read it would be like 0, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so forth and so on. So that's how you use a scale rule. There are other scales on here, but generally most theater work is done a half-inch scale. That's the traditional way to do it, although I've done lots of drawings in 3/8 or in 1/4-inch scale where that's called for, but half-inch is definitely the predominant scale to use.